And I'm just sitting there thinking, what about my life? So I stood my ground. I said, he's your child, not mine. I'll help sometimes, but I'm not a full-time nanny. Silence. And then my mom says something I will never forget. If you don't step up, don't expect to stay in this house. Now that hit hard, because yeah, I was still living at home. I was saving up to move out, but I wasn't there yet, and she knew that, so basically, she was threatening me with homelessness for not babysitting. At that point, I realized this wasn't about helping anymore. This was about control. So I said, fine, then I'll figure something else out. And I hung up. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. About an hour later, I hear loud knocking on the door. Like, aggressive knocking. I open it, and there are 2 police officers standing there. My heart drops. I'm thinking, what happened? Is everyone okay? And then one of them asks, are you my name? I say yes, and then they tell me they received a call about a domestic situation and possible child neglect. I was in complete shock. Child neglect? I don't even have a child. And then it hits me. My mom. She called the police. Because I refused to babysit. I had to explain everything. That the child wasn't mine. That I wasn't responsible. That I simply said no. And you could tell, even the officers were confused. One of them literally asked, so, you're being reported for not watching someone else's kid? Exactly. Thankfully, they were reasonable. They could see there was no actual issue. No danger. No neglect. Just family drama taken way too far. They apologized and left. But the damage? Oh, it was done. Because at that moment, something in me snapped. It wasn't just about babysitting anymore. It was about the fact that my own mother tried to weaponize the police against me, just to force me into doing what she wanted. That's not normal. That's not okay. So I made a decision. I packed a bag, called a friend, and asked if I could crash at their place for a bit. And that night, I left. No big goodbye. No dramatic scene. I just walked out. My phone was blowing up the entire time. Messages from my mom, my sister, even some relatives saying I was overreacting and breaking the family apart. But you know what? For the first time in months, I felt free. No crying baby at 6 a.m. No last-minute babysitting demands. No guilt trips. Just peace. Over the next few weeks, I figured things out. I worked more hours, saved money faster. Eventually found a small place of my own. And here's the ironic part. Once I was gone, suddenly, my sister had to take care of her own child. And guess what? She managed. Crazy how that works, right? My mom tried reaching out a few times. At first, it was more guilt, more blame, saying I embarrassed the family. But I didn't budge, because I knew if I went back, nothing would change. Eventually, her tone shifted. She started acting like nothing happened. Like calling the police on me was just no big deal. But for me, that was a line you don't uncross. Now I still keep some distance. I'll talk to them occasionally, but things are different. They have to respect my boundaries now. Because they know I'm not afraid to walk away. And honestly, that's the real revenge. Not yelling, not fighting, not proving them wrong. Just living your life on your own terms. So yeah, my mom called the police on me for refusing to be my sister's nanny. And instead of breaking me, it gave me the push I needed to finally choose myself. If you've ever been in a situation where your family expects too much from you, where saying no feels like a crime, just remember this. You are not responsible for fixing other people's choices. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away. I still remember the exact moment my mom called me the other one in front of a room full of relatives, and everyone laughed like it was a joke. I laughed too. What else was I supposed to do? But inside, something cracked. Because deep down, I knew. She meant it. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, like you were just there, not really seen, not really chosen, then stay with me. Because this story, it doesn't end the way you think it will. Growing up, I wasn't neglected in the obvious way. I had food, clothes, a roof over my head. From the outside, everything looked normal. But inside the house, there was a clear difference. There was my older sister, Emily. And then, there was me. Emily was the smart one, the pretty one, the one with potential. She got praise for everything. Good grades, expected bad grades. She's just going through a phase. Meanwhile, if I got straight A's, my mom would say, well, at least one of you is doing something right. She never used my name when comparing us. It was always, why can't you be more like your sister? Or worse, you're just the other one. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was just being sensitive. But as the years went by, it became impossible to ignore. Birthdays? Emily got parties, decorations, carefully chosen gifts. Mine were quiet. A cake from the grocery store. Sometimes forgotten until the last minute. One year, my mom literally handed me a gift bag and said, this is from both of us. And inside was a scarf that still had the price tag on it. I remember being about 10 years old when I finally asked her, Mom, why don't you like me? She didn't even look up from her phone. She just said, don't be dramatic. That was the moment I stopped asking for love. Instead, I started working for it. I cleaned more, stayed out of trouble, helped around the house, tried to be useful, thinking maybe if I was good enough, she'd finally see me. But nothing changed. If anything, it made things worse. Because the harder I tried, the more invisible I became. By the time I was a teenager, I had accepted my role. I was the backup child, the extra, the one you don't really think about unless you have to. Even extended family picked up on it. At gatherings, they'd greet Emily first, ask about her life, her plans, and then glance at me like, oh yeah, you're here too. And my mom? She reinforced it every chance she got. She's the other one, she'd say, pointing at me casually, like I was some random plus one. I wish I could say I stood up for myself back then, but I didn't. I stayed quiet. Because when you grow up being treated like you don't matter, you start to believe it. Eventually, I moved out, got a small apartment, worked 2 jobs, put myself through college. It wasn't easy, but it was mine. For the first time in my life, I felt free. I didn't cut my family off completely, but I kept my distance. Calls were rare, visits were shorter, and honestly, they didn't seem to notice. Years passed. I built a life for myself, a stable job, a few close friends, a routine that didn't involve constantly proving my worth. I started healing, slowly. Then, one day, my phone rang. It was my mom. Now, this was unusual. She never called, unless she needed something, and even then, it was usually a short, cold conversation. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Her voice sounded different, softer, almost fragile. She didn't waste time. I'm sick, she said. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. She explained that her kidneys were failing, severe damage. Doctors said she needed a transplant, and fast. There was a pause, a long one. Then she said it. We've tested everyone in the family, and you're a match. I felt my stomach drop. Out of all the people in the world, I was the one she needed. Not Emily, not anyone else. Me, the other one. For a moment, I couldn't even process it. All those years of being ignored, dismissed, treated like I didn't matter. And now suddenly, I was essential. She kept talking, her voice tightening. I know we haven't always been close, but this is serious. I need your help. Need. That word hit differently. Not, I love you. Not, I'm sorry. Just, I need you.